Welcome. This tutorial covers the setup and use of contracts in the HIP Office Lite system. Contracts in HIP Office Lite allows your customers to sign for their inspection orders online, and this allows you to keep reports from being released until the contract has been signed and paid for. Contracts can be signed by one or two parties. The HIP Office Lite system uses a combined contract for all your services. So if you offer both primary services and add-on services, you'd want to include all the terms for all of your services in one contract. Contracts in HIP Office Lite are only available when you are creating the orders ahead of time, not when you are creating the orders when the report is uploaded. So you will need to create the orders ahead of time to make use of the contract system. The full HIP Office system allows for separate contracts for both your primary services and your add-on services, so you can use any combination to aggregate a contract. So let's take a look. To access the contract setup, you can go under Data Management on the left-hand side and go to Contract Templates. Now, as I mentioned, there's just one contract template, and you can see this is the setup area for the contracts. In the Contract Editor, this is where you actually enter the body of your contract. And to make the Contract Editor active, you click in the body. And you'll see you now have toolbars, and this area is editable. We include an example contract, but you'll want to use a contract that is specific for your business and has been approved by your insurance or an attorney. For our purposes, we'll be taking the contract from a different source. To do that, I'm going to go ahead and copy the text of the contract. I'm not going to include the headers or the footers or the signature block on the contract. I'll go ahead and copy that text and then go back to HIP Office Lite. Then in the body of the contract editor, I will highlight all the text by clicking and dragging, or you can press Control A on your keyboard to select all the text. Command A on a Mac. I can then press Control V or Command V to paste, and you'll see it inserts the contract body in. Now, if I want to make the contract editor a little bit bigger, I can click in the lower right-hand corner and click and drag. That can make it easier to edit the contract itself. Now, the contract includes the basic text of your contract, and there may be blanks where you're going to have customer-specific information inserted in. To populate the customer-specific information, we use variables, and you can see those on the right-hand side. And this allows you to pull information from the customer, the inspector, about the inspection, and the agent. There are also specific variables that are specific to working with contracts. So to fill in the blanks, in this case, we'll be putting in the inspection address. I'll highlight the space for the inspection address. And then from the list of variables, choose inspection address. For the fees, delete that and insert inspection net fees. Now, you don't need to worry about creating a header or a footer that contains the customer or the inspector information. Those will automatically be inserted as part of the contract process. You're also able to format the contract by using the headings at the top. So if I wanted to bold a section, for example, I can highlight that text and click on bold. You can also change the font size, as well as if you wanted to insert links or pictures. Once I've made all my changes, I can click on Save. In addition to the basic items that are populated in the contract, you will need to enter areas for the customer to sign. So at the bottom, I'm going to go ahead and add another line. And at the top of the list of variables, you'll see the client signature placeholders. Now, there are two ways that you can collect a signature. You can enter in individual items for the client signature and the date. So client 1 full signature, for example. And then I can do another line and do the client 1 signature date. And this will prompt for the customer to enter their signature, and it'll automatically populate the date. If you're doing this and you have multiple clients signing the inspection, you'll also want to include the client 2 full signature and the client 2 signature date. As part of your contract, you're also able to include initials, and this can be for individual items throughout the contract where a customer needs to approve an item or just acknowledge that they've read it. And there are two types of initials. You have the option for client 1 initials, which are mandatory and the customer must initial for the contract to be completed. You also have the option to do optional initials, which allows for customers to opt in or opt out of specific items. In addition to doing the signatures as listed here, you also have the option to use the client signature block. And we recommend you use the client signature block unless you specifically want to format the signatures. The client signature block will automatically create the block of signatures depending on the number of customers signing, as well as automatically including the dates, and so it allows you to not have to worry about the specific formatting. Once you've made your changes, you then click on Save, and this saves the changes. Now, after you've made your changes, you may want to review how the contract is going to appear. To do this, you can click on Preview, and this will open up the contract in another window, and you can view the contract exactly as a customer would see it. So I'll select to sign as Client 1 and Approve. And you see this has the body of the contract exactly as we inserted it. There's a spot for the customer to initial, and it also indicates that the initials here are optional. So I'm going to go ahead and skip those. And then there's a location for the full signature. So I'll go ahead and sign that. And I can click on Sign and Download Contract. Now this is populating with just generic information, so you can see exactly what a contract would look like, but it's not actually creating a contract. After you've signed the contract, it's also going to give you a download of the PDF of the signed contract so you can see exactly how it would appear in a PDF. Once you've viewed the contract, let's go ahead and take a look and see where this applies. So we can go to an order. So go to View Orders. We can go to the Contract tab on the left-hand side, and we can see the exact contract as it would appear. Now we can see at the top, has the client signed the contract? In this case, they have not. If they had signed the contract, they would have the date and time of when they did. We can view the contract as it's listed. And one thing to keep in mind is that if you have already created an order and you then make changes to the contract and you want the contract to reflect those changes, you can click Regenerate Contract. And this will prompt you, do you want to have it based on the previous template or as the contract previously existed, or the current template with the changes you've made. Keep in mind that if the contract has already been signed and you regenerate the contract, the customer will need to sign the contract again. And that's it. Contracts are automatically sent out when the order is created, and your customers are able to sign, and this will hold the reports back from being sent. So to review, your customers can sign the contracts online, and this is going to be used to hold back the report until the contract is signed, and they can be signed by one or more parties. For the HIP Office Lite system, you do have to have all of your contracts combined into one contract template, and contracts are only available if you have created the order ahead of time. If you decide to use the full HIP Office system, you can have contracts based on each component of the contract based on the services you're offering, and this will aggregate into one larger contract. Thank you for watching this tutorial. If you have any questions, you can reach out to Home Inspector Pro Support via phone, email, or chat. Have a good day.